Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forge Alliance Forever. We got something slightly different than usual. This is a replay review sent in by PandaCuddles, my top patron on Patreon. And so he has sent me a replay to review, and he can send me more because of all of his great support. I'm gonna lower the threshold for when people can send me replay reviews. It's very high now. It's like $25. PandaCuddles can send me as many as he wants at this point, but I think I'll reduce it to like $10 so people can send me replay reviews. I think people will like to learn from things like this. So let's start. How do we review a replay? Well, first I would say for us and for everyone watching, we're just gonna look at the map first. What's the map? Esgrod's Ruins 5x5 map, right? So the 5x5 fills the whole map, so it's a proper 5x5 map. Now we look at the resources we have. We have 4 mexes in the core, and we have a couple mexes very close. We have a hydro at a bit of a distance. We have very spread out mexes, but there's quite a few mexes on the map, and they're quite spread out. We don't have extra bases. Reclaim, big chunks in the middle, smaller bits around the mountains, and we also have some civilian reclaim, right? So this is actually quite a big chunk of mass here in these buildings, and the PD obviously, and AA. So you want to make note of all these things. Now if it's your first time looking at the map, as soon as you place your factory, you should zoom out, use the control shift, and spot the reclaim. So now we see what the build order will be. So we have a hydro, and you will want to get that in the opening build order, but you have to be careful that while you're making this, you don't make too many power generators at home. So let's see what PandaCuddles does. He's going to factory 2 P-gens, 2 mexes, that's normal. And we have 2 more P-gens. So this is probably not so great, I would say. Getting 4 P-gens when you have 2 mexes. Well, we'll see how it goes. We're starting with a lab. And this is nice, what PandaCuddles does here. He uses the factory rally point to basically give his units the move order. So now he should change the rally point back to next to his factory, or perhaps to the hydrocarbon if he's going there. Perhaps if he's going here, he can use the rally point to send them to this mass here. This mass is the closest reclaim he can get. So this is quite often taken by a very early engineer. Another thing on this map is sending a very early engineer to this reclaim, because people will prioritize this because it's big chunks of mass. See, we have like 600 on screen there. Now let's see how the lab does. So when using labs, you want to use your own expansion engineers as a metric for where the lab should be. So if we look here, we have 1 engineer just about to start this mex back here. So this lab should be attacking over here right now. If you just mirror your expansion versus the opponents, that will tell you where the lab should be to a pretty accurate degree. Again, the rally point should be changed. Now we see this is a problem with the build order here. There's too many P-gens. If you think right now, we have 1 factory, we have 4 P-gens. The mexes are quite late now because of this. Now we have 4 P-gens plus the hydrocarbon is coming up with 2 engineers. That's going to be 9 power generators. And That's a lot of power. You can make your second factory with 5 pigeons. You can make it with 6 pigeons because you have some reclaim. You might want to add another one. Get some assistance on the ACU, but this you've spent a lot of time building power with the ACU, and you're also going to invest engineers into building more power over here. So I think we will end up with too much power. We have already run out of mass, so this stall is quite bad. But it's only a small stall, so it's not the worst thing in the world right now. The lab sort of wasted some time. Often a lab to this location or around here will be good because engineers go to the middle quickly. Now we have a second lab. This lab moves in, gets a kill. Oh, we have a lab. Now this lab has not been microed properly, so it should die. It should be reclaimed. I have the reclaim order on my OR key, so I can quickly reclaim labs. And with 2 engineers, you'll reclaim a lab very quickly. I think it's quite a good, important hotkey to have. There's a reclaim one, so this is going to be a nice kill. Nice lab, but and this lab, it gets a kill, and now Panda reacts. And you can see the oh, look, he even reclaimed the mech marine and the engineer, so that's a nice mass boost. And you can see the lab has a lot less DPS than the engineer. When the engineer starts reclaiming, it didn't even lose half its HP, and it does have the least HP of any engineer, being Aeon. So we have another lab now from Panda. He's lost his lab down here. Now we have engineers expanding. This hydro is about to finish. Now you'll notice we have, oh, a 5th pigeon from the ACU. We have a full power bar, and we have a lot of mass in the bank right now. So really what should have been happening already is some assistance for the ACU, I would say. That's this engineer certainly should assist the ACU. We have 2 engineers expanding. Well, we have one expanding this way, another one here. And now we see the opponent is stealing some mid-mass. And this lab is here to get a good kill. Oh, he's just in range. This guy could retreat out of range, but he doesn't. So the engineer does assist the ACU. But again, you can see we have a full power bar, some power overflow, and we're only at 3 minutes, so this is quite inefficient. Oh, and that's a problem on a 5x5 map like this, especially when there's a lot of mass out in the middle of the map to grab. You gotta turn your opening resources into land factories or air factories quite quickly. Maybe, I mean, this build would work fine with an air factory. Just put an air factory here instead of maybe this factory, or maybe instead of this factory. Just go for air. You can sort of, if you start, say if you end up with too much power and things like that in a game, you can sort of pivot into things that need more power. So you're like, oh, I have so much power, what'll I do? Well, maybe now I'll make an AC upgrade because I maybe built an extra pigeon, T2 pigeon I shouldn't have. Maybe I'll start making air. Now, you don't want to do this too often, because then, well, your strategy is guided by your own economic mismanagement. But sometimes it's good to adjust your play if you have already made a mistake. So the first tank only comes out now. It's quite late for a tank, I would say. There's a lot of engineers out, but you're getting away with making all these engineers. So really, you should have a good expansion. You can see now these mechs is coming up. This engineer should then actually, here's one thing we see. We see a lot of short orders, right? So this guy gets 1 order to build 1 mechs. This guy got a couple orders to build these mechs. but at the end he has nothing. So what you can do very simply is, I mean, maybe you don't have time, you don't have the APM to do all this manual reclaim here. Well, you can just could queue up a PD here. That might not be the best, but you can just give a move order and attack move here to the edge of the cliff where there's going to be reclaim and stuff. And I think it's always good to, usually I end orders with attack moves or things like that, because there's almost always reclaim around that your engineers can be grabbing. We still also haven't fixed the rally point here. So you can see big power overflow, we've hit 0 mass. There's a lot of manual reclaim going on, which is obviously good, but perhaps, well, it's good. It's good, and you can see it ends with the attack move, so this engineer is not gonna waste any time. But I would say just build an air factory at this point. You have 100 power overflow, there's no way you're going to use it otherwise. Build an air factory. You are Aeon, so you're vulnerable to air, and having airs is always good. It's good to have scouting information to know what your opponent's doing. He could be making air right now, and we haven't really gotten across the map too much, so you don't really know what he's doing. On a 5x5, say early on, when you had this initial lab, you could send the scout into the base, run past the engineer, and then you would scout the base with the land scout. It's quite good to scout the base with land scouts in 5x5. If you're planning to go air, it's not as important, but if you're just going to make a lot of land, then I think scouting the base early with a land scout is quite good. So the biggest problem so far is just economic. It is that's sad. It's just this power overflow is a big waste. A power generator, you can see 75 mass and 750 power. That's an expensive building, and you're overflowing about 5 pigeons worth, 4 or 5 pigeons worth. Basically all of these, it's nearly 400 mass, is not really necessary for this build right now. And now we've stopped building any factories, so the ACU has started walking, and there's no more building going on. No power generators, no factories, no nothing. So before the ACU leaves, you gotta have the engineers ready in the base to continue his hard work. It's definitely fine time to move the ACU out. You want to move across the map and defend, attack certain locations, certainly, and you have engineers around. You have enough engineers to replace him, so just make sure you're set up to continue the building projects. Okay, we have some Aurora now. We have some tanks. These Aurora have been caught without any land scouts, and Aurora without land scouts are absolutely useless units, which is very unfortunate if you're an Aeon player. So let's see, we have a mech that needs to be replaced. You can see some engineers moving up here. Maybe we're going to get some more reclaim. We're still overflowing power, and we're still not building any more. Oh, okay, here we go. We have a T2 mech started on a 5x5 map. That is super risky to be making a T2 mech of 5 minutes on a 5x5 map. I would never recommend that, basically. Maybe I'm sure there's some map out there 5x5 where it could be a good idea, but in the vast majority of cases it's just a no. It's a big no. There's so much mass cost to upgrade that mix. Where we see 900 mass, 5400 power. You need units, AC upgrades, air, all kinds of stuff. And actually, as this upgrades, as this starts upgrading, we see 2 UEF bombers. So this player, SSX NI, has been very sneaky. And he has built air. Now we can also see that really in these opening 5 minutes there's been very little attack from the opponent. The opponent has sent a couple of units here and here. We've seen nothing on this side. And that really makes this PD a waste here. So you can see this max isn't taken, this max isn't taken. So this PD is it's very far back. It's very far back. You don't want to give up map control, just accept that you're not going to have map control here. These are like the most important areas actually is over here where there's a lot of mexes. This is where you'll often see the ACUs positioned because they can cut off this whole choke point here in this area and restrict movement. So placing a PD back here is very defensive. You're just accepting that you're not fighting for this map control, which is not great in my opinion. You also have Aeon, so Aeon have the Aurora advantage. Aurora are better T1 tanks on 5x5 map, and you don't need amazing micro for that to be true. You really don't. You need okay micro at best for this to be true, but anyway, here comes the air. Just as we've started a T2 Mex upgrade, which I say is not a good idea. And an air factory would have been amazing right now. We could have an Inti up, we could certainly have scouted the base to see what the opponent has. We could see where we can attack. Air scouts almost alone make an air factory worth it. And because we have Aurora, even with a few less Aurora, we're going to do well versus strikers. So let's see what happens with the bombers. The ACU is moving forward. And we still have, we have over a factory worth of mass. The bomber goes for the hydrocarbon. Kills the radar as well. Just by accident. And this hydrocarbon, you can see UAF bombers are very strong. 350 damage per bomber, and because the hydrocarbon is so big, it actually does do all that damage. Enemy ACU arrives now in the same location, and this hydrocarbon is down to 200 HP. One more pass and it will die. Also, this Mex is taking damage. Do have some reclaim here. And now, okay, here we go. The hydrocarbon has died. We're down 100 power to plus 120. What's going on the map? Well, we have these two engineers building an anti-air turret quite far forward. That's costing quite a bit of power to build that. We have a couple of thistles. Let's see the... Okay, we have one factory on repeat with anti-air. So this can be a risk. If you forget to change this back, you will end up with so much anti-air, and those things cost basically one whole tank or even slightly more. So if you accidentally leave that on just a thistle on repeat, it's gonna be bad. You should really queue up maybe, well, it depends. You're making air, so you're planning on making air, so you shouldn't queue up too many. But if you queue up 3 or 4, keep them spread, you can kill bombers quite easily. And then after that, just queue up more Aurora. So here we're at minus 112 power, and we're building an air factory. This is a problem. Minus 140 now. This factory is not going to get finished before we stall. Even if it does get finished, it's an air factory. We're not going to have any power to actually build air. So you're reacting, but this is not the right reaction. You need to replace the power. You've lost 100 power. You need to either get back to this hydrocarbon immediately and rebuild it with multiple engineers, or you need to build regular PGens, preferably spread out in the base. Don't build them all next to each other. That's another thing. These PGens are very vulnerable to bombers because they're all right next to each other. On 5x5 you want to kind of spread PGens out a bit because, well, especially versus a UAF bomber, which has a lot of damage, you can lose 3 or 4 PGens with at once. And if you lose these PGens, the game is completely over. There's no doubt. You can't win a game with no power. Another small thing, rally points. This is a bad rally. Other rally points, let's see, they're all reasonable. But again, only 4 land factories at this point in the game is very few. So, but look, we've seen virtually no tanks here. Even though you haven't exactly spammed a huge number of Aurora, you still have a unit advantage. You still have a better army. Here we go. This minus 60 power in this ACU. These guys are at minus 120 total. So all your power is going into a lot of things that are not PGens. And now we're at minus 246 power, so the bomber dies. That's good. But the power situation is really, really painful. Down here we have a group of Aurora without radar. And the enemy ACU is gonna just tank all this damage. So we have the Hydra queued up again, but there's only 1 engineer going here, and we're... yes, now we've switched. So here, what you could do is actually reclaim the air factory. You could, if you really need power, because you're at minus 80 without any PGens building. Oh! Okay. Okay, your enemy actually captured the PD, which is a crazy move. Oh, we do have this up here. That's not good. So... you only built 1 extra PGen, still have 140. This Hydro take a long time to build, and the AC is still spending. Oh no, it's not finished. No, at least finish. Oh no, that's unfortunate. That is... yep. Okay, so now we're under huge pressure here. Okay, so this is gone. These 2 bombers here that killed your Hydro really completely messed up your game, because your reaction just wasn't the correct reaction. You wasted all the power you had in the bank. So that's one thing. When you are getting power sniped or you're getting attacked, your power is damaged, is destroyed. Some of it's destroyed. You have to be very careful of the energy you have in the bank, because it costs a lot of power to make more power generators. So you have to make sure you immediately pause things like, well, the AC building stuff that isn't necessary. I mean, I don't know if that's necessary really, but anything unnecessary like building the air factory wasted all the power in your bank and left you with nothing. So now we have a full mass bar because of this power stall, and probably because of T2 Max as well. So now we're overflowing, and there's no, well, you're just waiting for the single engineer to finish the Hydro. So again, multiple engineers should have been sent to rebuild that. And now we're on pausing, and we're overflowing mass. And yeah, so it's all an economic problem here for you, basically. It's amazing what one snipe can do on this hydrocarbon. So now we have no power and we have full mass bar. So again, in this situation, all you build is power. You just build. Now don't build like this many PGens. Don't queue up that many, but you know, queue up like this many at least. This would be good, because you want to build air. You want to build factories, you want to build T2 land, you want to build upgrades, energy storage, just queue up these PGens, build them with 4 engineers, turn some of this mass into power because that's what you need badly. Also here with the air, you have so little power, and you finished the air factory, that's fine. Build 1 Inti and 1 scout, and then build engineers. So 1 Inti and 1 scout would probably, you'll catch any bomber you want. But you just don't have power to continually be building and assisting more air production. Also, this thing, as I said, has come back to haunt you. You have now 7 thistles and you have air and you're building inties, so these are really not very useful at all at this point. And it just means we have less tanks. So the map control, somehow the map control is actually pretty fine. Oh, now you see his air force. He has so many inties, so that's a mistake from your opponent to really build this many inties. You should be pretty glad to see that, honestly. And it should also tell you that, you know, just give up. Give up on this air thing. You need more of everything else. Nice fervor. Gonna kill this PD, and now we scout the base and we see 2 T2 mexes from your opponent. Wow. Well, the map control doesn't look so even anymore once you see that. Strange place to put a factory. I don't know, I wouldn't. This is way too far forward. It's very vulnerable. I just wouldn't do that. You could build a PD, you could build a radar over here or something, I don't know. Or just get some reclaim, but building a factory there is not useful. Too risky. And yeah, it's just economic problems. If you don't solve your economic problems, it's GG, and we just have a lot of air production that's killing everything that you want to do, that would be good to do. Also, let's see, on the front line, I don't storage T1 radar, or storage, but don't get adjacency with PGens on a T1 radar. And you don't need T2 radar on this map. But yeah, this is quite... Nah, it's just not useful now. Now, I can see what's coming next. I can see what's coming next. And that is way too much power. So, we've had the horrible power stall for most of the game, which happens to everyone, has happened to everyone. And then the follow-up is always queuing up way too many PGens and then overflowing all that power away. So we have 3 engineers building... What, he's built 1, and we're going to build 6 more PGens here. And then we have like maybe 12 to 15 PGens queued up here. Yeah, we have 14 more PGens, so that's going to be 20 more PGens total. 20 by 20 is how much? I don't know. But it's way too much, really. I know that much. Well, it's like 400. So, and also, you can see these 3 are draining 120 power. And these 3 are draining another 120 power. So we're down 240 power in power production. So the only reason you're stalling at this point is because you're building power. And the mass bar has gone from 1,000 to 400 in so quick a time. And we're about to run out of mass. We're at plus 200 power. And now we have more power queued up. Yep. So I think this game was entirely just economy management, just panic, just not. Wow, 3 T2 mexes now from your opponent, and this game should be completely lost at this point. could never expect to win a game like this. And certainly not the best game you've played, PandaCuddles. But I think hopefully I've explained some things about how to manage things like this, so, and things to watch out for. So you gotta watch out for this big overbuild queues of PGens. You've got to be aware of how many engineers are actually building the power, because you need to factor that into what your drain is. So, you know, you still saw minus 200 power, but you had 6 engineers building, so you weren't really minus 200 power. Things like that. And then also in the build order wasn't great. Also, we had some power mismanagement. So we had the hydro, we had 4 or 5 PGens as well, and we had no air factory. If you make an air factory with that many PGens, you know, second or third air, then it's kind of fine. But with only land, that power was just overflow and just wasted mass and power there. And now the opponent has T2 land, the opponent has 3 T2 mexes, the opponent has probably pretty even T1 land. So, and we're overflowing 600 power, and we're still making more. So at this point there's not much you can do except control K your power, reclaim it, and try and use the mass. Other than that, there's really not much hope. We only have, well, we have less eco, we have less of everything, I would say. He probably has more air as well. And mongoose are pretty good. So, Panda, please send me more replays. Now, I do tell people to send me their losses because they're more informative of why they're losing games, obviously, how they can improve. And so, thank you for sending me a loss. This is just unfortunate power management. I think it's just a bit of panic, really. It's always panicking, always loses games. For me, anyway. And really, it doesn't matter too much what happens from here. You've stopped the power production. You're gonna send a lot of engineers to assist the AC upgrade. So this is good. This is good. I mean, making the T2 mechs, you are behind by multiple T2 mexes, but probably you shouldn't make this mechs. Is there any way to win this game from here? I mean, you should find his ACU first. See where his ACU is. Should definitely make the gun. I mean, God, I wonder if you could make Chrono. I mean, it just costs way too much mass. If you pause everything, all production, maybe you could make Chrono. That would be hilarious. But you should definitely make the guns. Both the guns, I would say. And just try and get in range of his ACU and kill him. You also need energy storage to overcharge the mongoose. Yeah, the T2 Max is not great right now. Need all your resources to try and kill the enemy ACU, if you can find him. Let's see where he is. Strange factory here. This is like 240 mass that did nothing for you. Let's see. We're gonna speed up a bit. You can see it's amazing. Just assisting with two engineers, and there's still so much power overflow. So you should actually just have reclaimed some PGens. Not only stopped building, but just gone back and reclaimed some. Okay, the mongoose are entering the picture, but we have the range gun, we have overcharge. And the enemy ACU is back here, but he does have the gun. which is not very nice to have to deal with. And I think it doesn't really matter at this point because, yeah, there's a lot more units coming up. He's gonna just move in. ACU is obviously getting huge value, but it's just a bit late. So there we go. The economy is the most important part of the game. If you can't, you know, there's no top player who has bad economic management. You can't waste resources and things and win games, and that's even a TML. So this was quite brutal. Now, on the other hand, we have to commend the blue player. I think he did quite a nice idea there, sniping the hydrocarbon. He was able to just snipe the hydrocarbon before Panda knew there was air, before Panda had air or anti-air, and he used the UAF bombers quite nicely. It was only 3 passes maybe that sniped the hydro, so it was quite quick, and that really just sent us into a tailspin here with trying to recover the economy. So you just need to stay calm, understand where your power needs to go once you're low on power. It just needs to go directly into pigeons, or you need to go straight quickly to the hydrocarbon. Building factories is a bad idea when you're low on power. Building with the ACU is a bad idea when you're low on power, unless of course he's in the base helping to build more power. And yes, also again with the build order, we could have made some air because we do have a hydrocarbon near us. And yes, don't overbuild the pigeons. So there we go. Economy. I feel like a lot of things will be economic base at the stage of, you know, 1k, 1k, 1.2k. A lot of things will be economic mismanagement. That's fair enough, but in this game it was basically, that was the whole problem. The gameplay of units and stuff didn't really come into it very much because of that. So nice play by the opponent though. I wouldn't be, well, I think the opponent played very well here. It wasn't just a disaster. So thanks for sending this, Panda. Thanks for all the support, and send me more replays and we're gonna get you, let's see what rating, pick a rating, any rating, and we'll get you there. Maybe not 3k, you know. Definitely think pretty much anyone can get up to, you know, 1500, 1600 with, you know, you don't need to be fast, you just need to make correct decisions and we will get you there. So send me more replays. That's the replay review. Economy management, power management. Don't mess it up or you will be doomed. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Try and do some more replay reviews soon. And yes, thanks for watching. Tune in next time for another cast. Bye guys.